So what I want to do is actually just talk very quickly about some of the things that folks can do to start to prepare for the flood and the debris flows and all the things that Phoebe mentioned that that are going to start to come. So just to give a sense of what are some simple actions, some things that we should be doing now to start to prepare for the inevitable, coming flood. And then and then I'll introduce people who are around who have come up to help us, come from across the country actually to help us here. So just to run through a quick list, and we can put this up later, but start thinking about protecting the home and property. So septic systems, make sure you've got lids on them, make sure that you've got our plywood covers so that those don't get filled in a flood. The wellheads, make sure that we connect, protecting the wellheads from any kind of flooding or debris flow. Thinking about, pulling out or organizing your home valuables so that you can move those out of the floodplains. If you can, pull structures out of valley bottoms or out of floodplains. Any kind of ditches or acequias, make sure that where those are prepped so that water can flow through those quickly. Culverts and roads, again, clean those out so water can move around them, move through them. Clean debris from around the culverts and the bridges so that we can get in and work after a flood. If you have animal food, make sure that that's moved out of the floodplain. Again, pre-positioning some equipment on high ground so that you can access it if you need to get back into your property, or it's not trapped on the other side of a flood or a debris flow, or it doesn't become expensive debris itself. Secure your fuel tanks and your propane tanks. If you can move them up to higher ground. I know high ground is sometimes hard to come by in the valley. Last couple of things, just document your property. Please get flood insurance. Flood insurance is I know it's expensive. I know Paula has some recent experience getting flood insurance, but it's important and it's available. Remember, this is a multi-year event, as Phoebe said. Our goal here from the state side is to help protect life and property, protect life and critical infrastructure. So we've got a team of people working on that at the state to try to identify and try to get in here as soon as possible to get some work done as soon as next week. Life and critical infrastructure are our goals, and we need to all work together to make sure that we're preparing both for the big events and for the small events. So I really thank you all for coming out this afternoon, and I just want to introduce you to a few people, and I hope as I introduce people they can raise their hand and give a wave. So we have FEMA underneath the brown tent. They're here to help with a lot of different things, answer a lot of different questions. A great resource from around the country. We have the SBA, who's here to help with small business, any small business related questions. Legal Aid is here, so a great resource. If you have private property and you're asking what can we do on private property, the NRCS is here with their emergency watershed protection. If you just yell Kenneth, you're bound to get one of the right guys. So we're really happy that they're here. We have the National Incident Management Organization who's come in and they're spread around here in different places to really help out with the planning and the prioritization. State Forestry is here. Shannon Atencio, who most of you guys know already. She's a great person. The U.S. Army Corps has been out several times, and they're here to help us with the design, engineering, and construction of some of these features. We've got Steve Guerin from SynTable. He's got a sand table inside, and he can actually project this the burn severity map and the flood maps on the three-dimensional viewer. So he's a great person to ask questions. We may tie Phoebe in with him just so you guys can get a chance to talk. He's inside, because he's got a projector and it's hard to see outside. Who else? Oh, don't forget Peter. We got him up here with the debris removal team. We've got Tim Hegeman here with economic development. Who else? We have Rita and Pam with the senators, Senator Heinrich and Lujan. So they're here. If you get into red tape, Rita and Pam are our red tape cutters. They have the red tape scissors. Who else am I missing? Lots of people from the county, lots of neighbors, good food in the back. So now we'll get up and we can start walking around unless there's any questions real quick. Go ahead, ma'am.
We speak to about mitigation for our water systems, local water systems.
Are they municipal or your individual? The question is, who do we talk to about community water systems? Talk to me and Robin. We got two questions in the back. Go ahead.
It seems like there's a gap between information we hear about possibilities for mitigation and what could happen, and a sort of lack of will to actually, and other perspective is there's really very little that can be done. And that gap is very concerning. The other thing that I want to say is I have a question about our water flow here. I live on Rio de la Casa, County Road B028, which was severely burned up above its watershed. I understand that in Las Vegas, they're very concerned about the quality of their community water because of the disturbance to the Guayanus watershed. And it seems like, from what I'm hearing, and I know there's a lot of different disparate opinions, that working on Rio de la Casa watershed is actually not that important. And yet my belief is, the question is, aren't the toxins that are going to flow off Rio de la Casa going to interfere with the community's water quality? Isn't that a motivator for everyone to want to take care of that watershed?
Yeah, so the question is, shouldn't we want to work in Rio La Casa? Shouldn't we care about the water quality? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, and that it's going to affect a lot more than just the residential.
I 100% agree with you, and I think, and I am, believe me, and you don't have to, but I'm telling you honestly, that I am as frustrated as you are with the slowness of the process that we have. It is a flawed process, and we are working as hard as we can to get through it. And Rio La Casa is a top priority for this community and for Mora and for the bigger fire itself. So if it is the perception that we don't care or we haven't thought about Rio La Casa, I hope you believe me when I tell you that that's not true. We started in the south part of the forest just because that's where the fire allowed us to get into. The fire was out there first. It's a drinking water supply for 16,000 people. We started there. We're translating the same process here, and we don't expect it to take as long because of all the lessons that we've learned and all the kinks that we've laid out. I think what Phoebe has told us and what the engineers are telling us is that the risk in Rio La Casa is very, very, very real, and I don't want to give anyone a sense of false hope. I don't want people to think if you live in the bottom of that drainage, there's anything that we can do to necessarily protect you from the worst case scenario. I don't want people to think that there is a magic bullet that we can put on these landscapes that will keep people in vulnerable positions like the bottom of Rio La Casa safe from debris flow and flooding. We will do what we can, but Mother Nature bats last the same way that she does with the fire. And so I'm sorry that perception is out in the community. I hope we can dispel it today.
Thank you, and I would just ask that the more we're informed of the decisions you are making and the plan you are developing and the timeline of it, the more that will be our concern.
So please come talk to me and Robin afterwards, and we'll talk about how we plan to do that.
sandbags are part of that.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here that can kind of explain to us what to expect on Rio de la Casa Road?
Yeah, so that's where I think Steve and Phoebe can help in the sim table, and we can do a three-dimensional visualization of it.
Where will that be?
It's Steve,
Okay,
and it's inside.
okay, thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, sir.
How are sandbags supposed to hold up to debris flows with logs and rocks and all those?
Sandbags are a protection against the small, frequent events.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying. I'm being honest with you. I wish we had magic bullets. We can do things around our wellheads, around our houses. I drove up Rio La Casa yesterday, and I saw the sandbag walls that are starting to be built, and they will only protect against the smallest of events. There are certain people in those communities that I am deeply concerned about.
Are they being told? Are those people being told that they're in a dangerous area?
Yeah, I mean we're working, and that's what we're working with the county and the sheriff and everybody to get that message out. We're also working with the USGS and the National Weather Service to make sure that we have real-time forecasts and you know we're getting a dedicated meteorologist just to watch this fire, to communicate to the emergency managers, to the community members, to make sure that when a storm is coming in this way, coming up this way, we know about it and people can prepare, you know, but the reality is in some of those places, the only way to guarantee your safety is to not live there during the monsoon season. And that's a very hard thing to hear. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. we know that Mother Nature don't cause this fire, but now we need to buy insurance for floodings. These insurance are too expensive. There is any way that the federal government or state government can help the people to get that insurance flooding?
There are assistance programs. I would like to defer the specific question to FEMA so I don't mislead you. But yes, and please know that we have had many conversations with the governor, and her level of frustration and anger at the Forest Service has not dropped a millimeter. So we are going to hold the Forest Service accountable for the fire, and I think the Forest Service is expecting that and is ready for that.
How are you guys planning on telling us that the floods are coming or stuff like that? Because with the fires, they literally sent somebody knocking, and there's not going to be that opportunity.
No.
Repeat question, please.
So the question is, how will you know that a flood or a storm, more importantly, how will you know that a storm that could potentially cause a flood is coming? There are the challenge, as we know, the challenge here is that cell phone service is unreliable, and so what we're working on is, as a primary way, AM, FM, old-fashioned radios to make sure that people get the National Weather Service alerts, the alerts, make sure that those are there. So we're working on that to make sure that infrastructure is in place. We're working on, if you have a weather radio, a battery-powered weather radio, we have those available. We're trying to get those out into the community. So things like that. So we don't want to rely on electricity. We don't want to rely on cell service. But we always like to have backup plans. So our backup plan in this case is text and email alerts. And we're working with the National Weather Service so that you can sign up and pick your area. And when a storm moves into that area, you can get a text alert or an email alert. And so we'll be sharing that with the community, through the county managers and Facebook and things like that.
Excuse me. I'm trying to hear this guy. There's a lot of conversations going on. I can't hear him. If you have a private conversation that you need to have, could you please take it out that way so we can hear this guy? That's important information.
Go ahead, sir.
I believe Phoebe is working with the city of Las Vegas to put some netted structures up in the watershed. I'm wondering if some of those structures are being considered for some of the watersheds here, and who is going to pay for the resources to create those structures and put them in place?
Yes, sir. So the question was, there's mitigation structures going into the Guyanas watershed with Las Vegas. What's happening here? That's why the two gentlemen back here from the Army Corps are here. We're asking them, the governor asked them the Army Corps to design, construct, and fund the structures. The Forest Service also, we're going to lean on the Forest Service to do some mitigation work. Every drainage, every fire, everything is slightly different. So it's probably not going to be the same nets. It's a different canyon. It's a whole different system. But we are going to do some mitigation structures. Again, the key word is mitigation, not elimination. There is no way, there's no magic shop vac to come out here and suck up the water and suck up the debris flow. So we have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
It appears that there's a lot of individuals that are ready to go to work.
Yeah.
And in many cases, they're willing to volunteer their own time and their own equipment. Who can they talk to get that work started? Because time is wasting.
Time is wasted.
And
Yes.
so, and again, it's they're not necessarily worried about the reimbursements and all those things that come with that. It's they want to get to work.
Yeah, so the question is, there's a lot of contractors. There's a lot
Not
of
even
no,
contractors,
there's-
just individuals.
I know. So individuals and contractors who are ready to get to work. So what we're working with, what I had a conversation with Commissioner Serna about yesterday was we need to get the list of items. What do we need done? When do we need it done by? And we need to just start working on that. So that's again where Robin and the Army Corps folks are helping us pull that list together. And again, the reason this has been so slow is because we've had to start from scratch and build this. We're not like the fire that comes in with this team built.
But you're creating the list of what needs to be done. Is anyone creating the list of the individuals that are willing to volunteer?
Yes. Yeah, so that's something that we need to task the local people with, and if you want to volunteer, I'd be happy to have you help me out with that, because I think that's where we do need help with the people. What's the equipment that they have? What's the expertise, experience that they have, and things like that. So let me just can I do 2 more questions, and then we'll call it. So you and then you.
With regards to the emergency notifications to families here, why is it that phone service is still sketchy? That's a major, it's an important thing for people here.
So the question is, why is it that the phone service is still unreliable? And the answer is because that cell phone tower still isn't functional. And so we are working, I'm in communication every day with the governor's office, with the senator's office to fix that. That is the top priority that I have assigned to the governor's office. We had a person out here from the White House yesterday. I gave her as my top priority for the fire. I said that's my top priority for the higher ups to fix this cell phone tower.
One more question with regards to kind of a different matter. But you have a lot of people, landowners, that are clearing and cleaning things, fire, not necessarily sometimes fire related, but fire prevention because it's on our mind. And yet we're still having to pay for debris dumping at the solid waste. Why is that?
So the question is there a way to get a waiver for solid waste dumping? And I get to defer that to the county because that's outside of my jurisdiction. The last question here, gentlemen.
The rain is coming real soon. It's going to be here within about a week and a half. And I want to follow what he was talking about, that we are ready to go to work. We need equipment, barrier walls, and we are going to the leaders and letting them know what we need. But come Monday, things better start happening because we know what we need. They just need to give us that the go-ahead and the equipment and the barrier walls so we can put it in place ourselves if we have to.
Yeah.
We ain't got very much time. Well, a week and a half is not very long.
I know, and so just for everybody, the comment was a week and a half before the forecasted monsoon starts, things need to happen. Things need to start happening Monday. And I can say that there should be a team in here this weekend starting to work on the river, cleaning out the river and the debris. I think the list that I gave you, I hope that people can start on that. I think we can also start to communicate out, what do people need? You heard from Phoebe, about connecting and communicating out to their, getting started removing debris from drainages and bottoms, and drainage bottoms, and making sure that we have a smooth path for water. So we can talk later about the exact, directions that are needed and what would be most helpful. But I think we have a list of things that we can get started on now. And if we want to start to rally folks, let's have that conversation today. And I really apologize. Everybody's hot. I know everybody's got questions. I'm going to be here until as long as it takes. I'm here all day. So I just want. I know we have. I apologize. I misled you. John is here to talk about sandbags. Where's John?